Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Mackmyra Grönt Te. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Today I'm doing a review of a new Mackmyra release, Swedish single malt whiskey called Grönt Te, which means green tea. It's an interesting whiskey because it's basically a marriage of their aging whiskies in different barrels, but one of those is a 128 litre freshly saturated ex-oloroso cask, which has been saturated with oloroso wine and vintage Japanese green tea. Interesting combination, I know. I'll put a list of the vintage Japanese tea varieties there so you can see what they're called. I don't dare pronounce them, they're incredibly complex. And it's a collaboration by the master blender Angela D'Orazio, and she worked with a Japanese green tea producer to pick out something new and interesting to give this whiskey just something different, because obviously Mackmyra are well known for their interesting maturation in different casks, and this is by no means any different. So it's been aged in the ex-oloroso cask, as I said. It's been aged in Swedish oak, it's been aged in ex-bourbon, and it's also been aged in, I think it's first fill oloroso, might be second fill. But so it's been in 4 different casks in total. But it'd be interesting to see, because obviously oloroso can have quite an interesting influence on whiskey, and lots of whiskey producers do it. But what will the green tea give this whiskey? Shall we find out? On to the whiskey. Right, so let's start by having a quick look at the colour. You can see there's a decent amount of influence there. There's definitely, I'd say, it's a bit like a rich maple syrup. It's very nice golden colour. This is unchill filtered and uncoloured. It's bottled at 46.1%. So let's see what it's like on the nose. Right, so this is my first time nosing this whiskey. I get 2 things. I get green apples, and I get that oloroso wine character, but it's a little bit sweeter than normal. I get that sort of malted cereal that I often get with Mackmyra in the background. Yeah, that sweetness from the oloroso goes really well with that sort of apple. I get a little bit of sort of dried dark fruits, those sort of sultanas, raisins. That's obviously coming from the sherry, I'd suggest. There is like another fruitiness, probably a combination between the sort of fresh orchard fruits and the rich dried fruits. Maybe something like raspberries, something like that. Also get maybe a hint of star anise or aniseed. Yeah, it's quite pleasant on the nose. It's not overwhelming. There's not too much vapour there. It's yeah, it really is quite pleasant. Let's try it on the palate. I'd be hard pushed to think, if I didn't know that there was any green tea influence. It's It's a little bit spicy, obviously a bit of a peppery tingle on the tongue. There's a little bit of sweetness, there's lots of cereal, sort of like biscuit as well. There isn't the sort of tannic nature from the Oloroso until you've swallowed it and it starts to fully evaporate on the tongue. Yeah, the Oloroso influence is probably a bit too heavy. Let's try and have a sip, see if I can pick up anything else. Okay, that time it was a lot more sweeter, a little bit floral. The apple note was noticeable that time. That peppery prickle is still there. It's quite strong. Maybe adding a few drops of water might lessen that, but I think that might spoil the sort of mouthfeel. There's a nice coating mouthfeel with this one. It's making me salivate a little, which is always a sign of you know, good ABV. It's a good sort of level for a whiskey if I get that normally. Not too dry with the tannic notes this time. I think that might be because my tongue's getting used to it, but not too dry with the wood on the finish either. Often dry wood can be a bit too it's just all too commonplace, but it's not with this one. I'll try one more sip and then yeah, I'll give you my verdict. Apart from all the notes I've described that I've picked up on the palate, there is a hint of sort of leather or tobacco, picking up that a little bit, but it's not unpleasant. They're just familiar flavours. Yeah, it's quite nice. But all said and done, it's not a bad whiskey. Could I pick that there's green tea or something that's been matured with other than Oloroso? Probably not. Even though I know it's, you know, the amount of sort of floral, you know, that I'm picking up, or maybe even you know, anything other than those sort of signature tastes that you get from Oloroso wine. Don't think there's enough of an influence, but by no means it's not a bad whiskey. But it doesn't stand out enough to be that different. So I probably wouldn't go out and buy a bottle now I've tasted it, but it's probably something to you know, show off and maybe impress people that want to try something different. You know, you might want that for your collection, and if you're a fan of Mackmyra, then you'll probably definitely want this in your collection. So it's nice, but it's not amazing. It's not ringing any new bells for me, but it might for you. Sláinte. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.